Alrighty, here is another book review. Maybe I should have been making more book reviews past couple of years. This isn't the first time. I didn't just start reading a couple months ago. I recommend this book, Miracles and Massacres. It's got 12 chapters, each about a different event or segment of history. I'll tell you what each chapter is about and sometimes throw in a comment or two. Jack Jewett, The Ride That Saved America. That's about something that happened during the Revolutionary War. Interesting reading. Shays' Rebellion, A Loud and Solemn Lesson. Let's see, the Virginia Convention, Compromising for the Constitution. Well, before I read the Shays' Rebellion thing, I was thinking Shays' Rebellion happened after the Constitution for some reason. My memory of the history is a little bit backwards. Shays' Rebellion happened before the Constitution, and some people use that as an argument for the Constitution. Let's see, the Virginia Convention, Compromising for the Constitution. The Barbary War, A Steep Price for Peace. The first time Muslims attacked the United States of America, obeying Surah 9, it says to attack the unbelievers. And I'd watched a History Channel documentary about that specific instance before, but I don't remember noticing before that the man who was leading the expedition to put a new king in, put the rightful ruler in Tripoli. He took over one city and he didn't finish the job. I don't remember that being pointed out before, and I watched a documentary about it. Didn't finish the job because he was ordered to withdraw, and the lying, untrustworthy king that was left in power was scared enough to make promises that, if you call it a promise if you're not really planning on keeping it from the get-go, he was promising to be peaceful and nice so that he wouldn't lose his kingdom, which he obviously didn't mean, because he was back to it within a matter of a short number of years. More piracy and more slave capturing. Let's see, Edison versus Westinghouse, an epic struggle for power. That was interesting. I know I'd heard, I don't remember reading this much detail before about the alternating current versus direct current debate. I lost a lot of respect that I used to have for Thomas Edison when I read about him lying about things. And the whole point of that chapter was the electrical debate, how we ended up with alternating current instead of direct current for the power source for America's cities. There was a fun little factoid at the end of the chapter. Towards the end of Thomas Edison's life, he had sold his company, or it had merged with another company, and he didn't have enough ownership of it to make him want to go to work for it, so he spent his time on other things, including making movies. So why, and he was doing that in New York, why did we end up with Hollywood being movie capital of the world, where all the big movie studios got set up, and or we think of now as, you think movies, you think Hollywood probably. It was because of the way the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals had been ruling about patent issues. Interesting. So, if the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals had shown a different pattern, maybe the people that went to Hollywood and started the movie industry there would have gone anywhere else. Maybe they would have gone to Utah, maybe they would have gone to Florida, maybe they would have gone to Alaska. No, probably not Alaska. Alaska wasn't a state yet. No, but it had been purchased by then, so it was the United States territory. Let's see, the Battle of Wounded Knee, Medals of Dishonor. This was the most shocking chapter to me because right now we have a president in America who hates America, who thinks America is evil, and he's attacking America. There's no other way to. He's attacking America. He's another bizarre. His first year in office, he went around the world bowing to everyone and telling everyone how much America sucks and making up things were wrong that we didn't do wrong and lying about us. There's evidence. Some of these historical occurrences, there are contradictory accounts of what happened. And so the writer of this book, Glenn Beck, was an important part of it, but so was his daughter, and I don't know how many other people. His daughter, who didn't want to study American history in college because she knew America had its downsides, its imperfections, and wanted to study ancient history instead. And Glenn Beck didn't realize about all the things that, as he studied for the book and talked to his daughter when he first talked to her about it, where America needs to apologize for, where America had done something wrong in the past. This Battle of Wounded Knee, there's an official army account of what happened, but there's some surviving records that contradict it. The official army account is some brave soldiers got into a battle with Indians who were shooting back. But there's some evidence, some accounts that completely contradict that say every American soldier shot in that battle, quotes have two of them, battle, was actually shot in friendly fire because of bad military positioning and that no Indians were shooting anything. What's bizarre to me about this chapter, disturbing, is America. I'm not delusional. I believe America, the founding fathers were inspired by God, but that does not mean that every American citizen from the beginning is sinless and perfect. That doesn't mean America's leaders have always done the right thing, and there are some things America may not have done wrong, may not have done right. Here's a great example of this chapter when we've got evidence that the American army screwed up, and the American army covered itself by giving out a whole bunch of medals to make the battle look even more fierce. Barack, here is something we really did screw up on that you should be talking about instead of making up lies about things we haven't done wrong. You should posthumously take these medals away, Barack, based on the evidence the writers of the book found. Come on, here, if it's baffling when Barack Obama is making up what we didn't do wrong. And here we go. Here's a chapter, here's something we did do wrong, and he's not touching it? The truth is stranger than fiction sometimes, and here's an example of it. On to the next chapter. Easy Eddie and the Hard Road to Redemption. Easy Eddie was Al Capone's lawyer, who decided to cooperate with the police and the FBI is police, cooperate with law enforcement when they had a case against him, and his other option was to help them get the big fish that they really wanted. Part of his compromise was to get his son into the Naval Academy, and his son at the airport in Chicago that we hear about on the weather reports is a lot of snow. Chicago O'Hare is closed for today. It's named after Easy Eddie's son. Fascinating reading. I definitely recommend that. Saboteurs. In time of war, laws are silent. Alright, here's another very disturbing chapter. A very disturbing chapter. I'd heard about this case before, this event, but I didn't have all these details. I'd heard that in World War II there were 6 German spies who wanted to use the American court system, have their day in court. What I hadn't heard was 2 of them were United States citizens, and at least one of them had parents in Ohio he was sent a letter to before he was executed. So if he decided to not do what the Germans were hoping he would do, the Germans couldn't torture his parents. They were here. They were here. It would make sense. What they did to him would make sense to me, maybe. If his parents were over in Germany, you're a citizen, alright. Nice. But your parents are over there. We think Hitler will torture your parents if you don't do what he ordered you to do here. But his parents were here, so there's no reason. It doesn't make sense for them to execute him. And the most important reason is that it doesn't make sense for these guys to be treated the way they were, at least some of this group, is the way they were caught. They were not caught right next to the target bridges with explosives. They were not caught because they got drunk at a bar and started singing German drinking songs. They got, time for air quotes again, caught because they turned themselves in because they were not planning on doing it. At least 2 of these guys, the 2 American citizens in this group, turned themselves in because they were not planning on doing it. And they told them about the other group. This group landed in New York that this is talking about. There was another group that landed in Florida. The guys in New York told them about the guys in Florida. Because of that, they should not have been kicked out of the country, lost their citizenship, been executed. Some of these, one guy from Ohio was whose parents were in Ohio, was executed. They were stuck over in Germany. If they didn't take this job as a spy and saboteur, what were their other options? Starve in a prisoner of war camp? Be killed with the Jews and those other things, the camps that the Jews were killed in? Just be an outcast from society, starving to death without a job, without food? They had limited other options. This got them back home to America, where they were not planning on doing harm, where they turned themselves in and turned in the guys who were the real German spies who were thinking about doing it. And at the end of the chapter, it points out there was an American citizen caught in Afghanistan who was stripped of his citizenship and deported to Saudi Arabia, partially based on the legal precedent set in a 1940-something case. And it's sad, and I'm not sure about that guy who was caught in Afghanistan. I'm not swearing to his innocence, but I have to wonder about him. I would want a United States citizen who was caught in Afghanistan sneaking away from the Taliban. It sounds like this guy who was caught in Afghanistan, he's given a paragraph. So there's not as much detail about him as there's about the other guys. But that one paragraph makes it sound like he was away from the Taliban, trying to get away from them. If he was not caught in the middle of a battle shooting at Americans, but he was trying to get away from the Taliban, he should have been given a chance to try to exonerate himself in court, explain himself. And according to that paragraph, he joined the Taliban before the first September 11th attack. I said first. because losing the first ambassador in 30-something years is a big deal. That is the most recent September 11th attack when Ambassador Stevens was murdered, and America's got a political prisoner now. The guy who supposedly made a video that we know virtually nobody watched until corrupt politicians were trying to figure out how to make themselves not look so bad. Thank you, Judicial Watch, for doing your work. Everyone should support Judicial Watch. And I lost my train of thought. There was something Judicial Watch. The guy is a political prisoner who supposedly made the video. Who made the video? He made the video, but that didn't cause any problems. And so 2 September 11th ago. Anyway, before 2 September 11th ago was when the guy who's the last paragraph of the chapter is about joined the Taliban, and he may have given up on them and been trying to get back to America to be an American. Who is Tokyo Rose? Eva Tuguri. She was given a full pardon by President Ford because she was innocent. She never should have been charged with this stuff in the first place. The prosecutor committed suicide. That's so sad. And one of the reasons that Eva was prosecuted was Harry Truman wanted to look tough on communists. I don't get the connection. I don't understand how that made him look tough on communists. Jailing and mistreating an American citizen who was held against her will by the Japanese and was doing the best she could in her tough circumstances to help Americans. And what Harry Truman should have done to be tough on communism was get tough on communism. There were spies, the communist spies that infiltrated America back then, the American government. Maybe the most disturbing thing about this chapter of the book, was the judge's instructions to the jury in Eva Tuguri's trial. She was charged with treason, aiding and abetting an enemy. The judge told the jury not to take into account the fact that she risked her life to sneak food to American prisoners of war. She got food and medical supplies, risked her life, sacrificed her own money. Maybe she could have lived a little bit more luxuriously or comfortably. But she was getting food and medical supplies to American prisoners of war who were starving. And she never renounced her citizenship. The Japanese government loved it. They tried to get her to. The Japanese government pressured her to renounce her citizenship, and she didn't. That judge had told the jury not to take that into account in a treason trial. He should have been hung. He should have been tortured to death. That is such a violation of that woman's rights. If she's not committing treason if she's feeding American prisoners of war. She's not committing treason if she refuses to renounce her citizenship. On to the next chapter. You should get this book and read it so you get more details. I'm not reading it, partly to encourage you to buy it, partly because maybe there would be some copyright violations if I read the entire book over the internet. Well, the Battle of Athens, repeated petitions, repeated injuries. Yeah, interesting. And that was back in the 1940s and 50s. There was Athens, Georgia, a local corrupt political machine that was stuffing ballot boxes and winning elections but not winning them. The kind of political machine that would love to have illegal aliens come in and vote, or have people vote twice. The kind of political machine that would argue against voter identification. so that we get one vote per voter instead of one vote per voter not being corrupt, and 20 votes by the political machine corrupt people. Okay. The they didn't write it in Vietnamese, so I'm not as certain about the correct way to pronounce it as I would be if they wrote the name in Vietnamese instead of English. But in the Vietnam War, the MY should be pronounced me, but they didn't write the accent, so I don't know if it's me, and lie. That's definitely lie, but don't know if it should be lie, or lie. The massacre that happened in Vietnam. It looks like the American Army screwed up there. In general, the American mission in Vietnam was a good, I think, a just cause. I'm not claiming American soldiers are 100% innocent or perfect, but in general, the mission was a just cause, and I believe the vast majority of American soldiers in Vietnam behaved honorably. Here's one example of one time when American soldiers acted questionably, and the Army may have done some covering up, some contradictory accounts there. In the last chapter, The Missing 9/11 Terrorists, The Power of Everyday Heroes, is about, I forgot his name already, Luis Perez, the guy who, whatever, Perez, well, there's one airplane when the September 11th hijackings happened that did not reach its target and crashed into the ground, and only the people on the airplane died, and there were no buildings destroyed. That airplane only had 4 hijackers instead of 5, and maybe that was a deciding factor. That 5th hijacker, Jose Melendez Perez, hey, I think I remembered it. That hijacker was stopped by an immigration agent in Florida doing his job, and it was, I didn't realize before that when we caught him eventually in Afghanistan, and his information he gave was helpful in eventually figuring out where Osama bin Laden was. Although, I don't know, Al-Qaeda's alive and thriving, so maybe getting Osama bin Laden wasn't that important or big of a deal in the big picture. Alright, so thank you for watching this book review of Miracles and Massacres. Have a good day.